naturally occurring sources of fiber, fabric, and other materials. This will be listed on order of objectionability or the PETA scale. For those of you who are part of PETA or PETA filers. Animal fiber. There was this whole hubbub a while ago of a bunch of people on YouTube and stuff complaining about wool being morally incorrect because they were thinking animal skin. And when it was pointed out to them that that's not really how it works, they just pivoted and doubled down and did other backflip psychiatric issues and just said, well, we don't care, it's still blah, blah, blah. And for those of you who don't know, PETA and their founders and such just believe any interaction between humans and animals is a detriment to animals, and they have a zero tolerance thing about literally any contact with animals, including pleasant ones, which is the reason PETA and various other groups and action groups and activists have an extremely high kill rate at shelters. It's not that they always destroy them. That's also propaganda, by the way. But they have a ridiculously high kill rate because they're the last resort one, because no one wants to take stuff to them. So it went from being a meme about them having a high kill rate to them only getting the animals that are going to end up having to be euthanized. Yeah, I hate PETA too, because they are not solving any problem and they are just annoying, and it's virtue signaling, and that's actually the wording that should be used. But animal fiber, let's start with the worst parts. The animal parts themselves after the animal's dead. Now, I emphasize that. The animal's dead. Did you end its existence, or are you reprocessing something that already died? There are lots of green-compatible companies and such that do exploit animals, but they have them live as long a life as possible for obvious financial and technical reasons, and only when they're too old to be happy do they euthanize them, and then they reprocess them. They go to the knackers. Animal parts like skin, leather, we call it leather, tendon, which is called sinew, and also the hair, if it can be taken, and also hooves and other parts used for various parts. I'm not just limiting this to fabric sources, but let's not stop to think about, the meme of the Native Americans being morally correct because they would go off and kill buffalo and use every part, but somehow an industrialized system that literally uses every single atom of an animal when they end its life is somehow morally incorrect. Again, if you're a virtue signaler, I'm not going to be able to explain any of this to you because you can go look this shit up and you didn't. Yes, this is from frustration, not with them, but with, in video games, why do they always show the fiber colors the wrong color? Or is there a wrong color? Now we go sheep, alpaca, camel, goat, and human hair fiber. Yes, there are people who harvest human hair fiber. I am not a recipient of such a thing. I do not have a crew cut. I have a clear cut. Angora, cashmere, mohair, wool or fleece. That's still objected to, again, as I mentioned, because people had to protest it. But that's the least invasive one I know of that still involves animals and is the most ridiculous. An animal that you're harvesting fur from, in some cases, produces either a monstrously large financial benefit, so they just take care of them real good, because each animal can produce 3 or 4 times its body weight over its lifespan, rather than slaughtering them and using the materials. Yeah, it's sort of like mining silica fiber out of the dirt and rooting the ground so you can make silica-based materials versus just growing stuff in it and not doing that. Let's move on. Silk. It's made from a worm's cocoon filament. A single filament can be like a kilometer long. I mean, it's insane. Again, for their weight, they produce a ridiculous amount of fiber. But that's slightly less objectionable because it's a bug. Again, everyone is valuing living things based on how much likelihood you would have of having them as a pet. Having a sheep, alpaca, or a goat, or even a camel as a pet, people you can find doing that, they would never slaughter their animals. Those are their pets. But I know people who own dogs that produce so much damn undercoat that they sell it for people to use it to make some sort of filler material or insulation, or in some cases, frickin' clothing. I mean, if you got a barking sheep, why not shear it? And every summer they blow coat and they just collect the fiber. Do you have a husky? You can have a sweater. But anyway, on levels of horror induced in people, animal parts, hooves, skin, tendons, etc. Then we have just giving them a shave. And then we have worms that you have to boil after they form the cocoon, because it's found to be the most cheap and easy way to do it. And no, they haven't found a better way to do it. There isn't. Plant fibers. Oh, this is the rainbow gathering we're all waiting for. I'm going to read the colors back. This is natural material without dyeing it. And the dyes are made from literally fruits and vegetables and stuff, usually. White colors. Ramie or nettle stalk fiber. Bamboo shaft fiber can also be white. Cottonseed fiber also can be green and brown. So we now have two new colors, brown, green, and white. And then, of course, white agave sisalana leaf, or agave fiber, or sisal fiber, or burlap, or literally just rope. Then we have linen, otherwise known as the gray flax stem fibers. And then we have gray and gold colored cannabis or hemp materials. And then we have golden color, it is really, jute stem fiber, and you also get other materials that are similar color. You get yellow coir fruit fibers from coconuts and stuff like that. They can also be brown. Then we have brown gold banana leaf fiber, and apparently there's something called, I'll look it up while I'm watching the video. Now I want to point out one of the natural fibers that people don't bring up. And that is Rayon. I don't like chemicals in my food. Then you're going to be eating a vacuum chamber. Rainbow color ranges based on doing these materials and others called viscose, which confused the hell out of me. It's regenerated natural agricultural cellulose fibers or synthetic silk. These are pseudo or partially synthetic or quasi-synthetic fibers that are made from natural materials, altering them to have better characteristics. Well, I don't like it. It's not natural. So instead of wearing a bamboo shaft shattered along its length and wrapped around you, putting silica splinters in you, being completely natural, you'd still go for the artificial method of taking the bamboo shaft fiber and making it into something akin to literally cotton. All of these are processes of one kind or another, whether the chemical, mechanical, boiling it, that alter the natural state of it. A completely natural fiber, literally the only one I can think of that could be used directly, is literally sheep fur. Or you could grow it on your own anatomy and hand weave your own hair until you made each component. Someone actually did that as an art project. It took them 25 years or something. But anyway, there's also one called tau fiber. I think that's what it's called. I had trouble looking it up before, and I'm failing to do it now, so I won't include it. But it's literally golden colored. It looks like human hair. I don't know where you get it from. I'll have to look it up, and I'll add it down below in the description. But anyway, we have common names. Ramie, or Ramie, like do-re-mi. Bamboo, anything. Cotton, anything. Sisal, otherwise known as agave. Flax, linen, etc. Jute. And then we have coir fruit fiber. Basically, all of these things are just plant fibers, or it's the skin or tendon out of an animal, or the fur off the animal. Now, or you can use the artificial sounding process to make Rayon, which is a brand name for and a top patent and all that, for using cellulose fiber from whatever source. Now, I want to bring up natural keratin, Fibroin, chitin, chitosan, collagen, and other materials, including animals, are just chains of polymers, multiple mers. A polymer isn't an unnatural thing, and rayon isn't necessarily bad for the environment. And what about plastics? If you were 100% recycling all plastics, and they never got into the environment, which is technically possible, we now have the ability to do that, but you'd have to do that with everything made out of plastic. You can't have any microplastic escape the system. You would not end up with microplastics in the environment having a problem. Now I'm going to bring up a couple of nightmare scenarios, but if you really are worried about natural and sustainable, if you're going to be natural and sustainable, all of your sheep, alpaca, camel, and goats, after they produced all the fur you want, eventually they all things die. All of them. And whether it's Angora Cashmere Wool Mohair or fleece or whatever you want to call it, the end process is they eventually die from old age. They also are taken out of the system when they hit a point where they no longer produce anything. Or they produce at a lower rate, which is an indication that their health is going to hell. And what is your morals on this? Do you have morals on it? So does Waptec use. I literally am wearing almost exclusively cotton and, quote, rayon derived from cotton. There's also a rayon derived from, this is kind of funny, there's a rayon bamboo. It's called bamboo rayon or rayon bamboo. And if it's being honest, it's bamboo material that's processed with a much more mild version of the method for producing rayon. It's barely rayon, but legally speaking, it is still a process like rayon uses. Now I'm going to bring up our nightmare scenario for dealing with the plastics in the world. A, you recycle everything and try to keep any more from going back into the environment, and just keep recycling what we have and stop drilling for oil. Just stop it. But what do you do if you're still drilling for oil anyway because someone's going to, and they have all these byproducts that make really only useful materials for making plastics? Do you just dump it? Do you pump it back into the oil fields as pseudo-pure materials and let them react with each other and turn into sort of raw crude oil? What if you create a bacteria that eats all the plastics? Well, human beings contain microplastics, which means you could get infected by something that could never, ever infect you, that only existed at the bottom of a trench somewhere in the ocean where oil is oozing up, and it's learned to eat it. And it would also eat all the oil if it get into the ground, creating waste gases, carbon dioxide, screwing up the environment more. But it would also then be able to infect human beings, specifically the lining of your intestinal tract, by eating away at the microplastics, which, I don't know if you know this, human beings are now adapting to be able to integrate microplastics and depolymerize and repolymerize them as protein. So some of the microplastics people are detecting, specifically in muscle and tendon, is just ordinary material that happens to still have the signature of being originally from oil, which means we have become the bacteria that can digest the oil now. Industrial Revolution, Technical Revolution, followed by the Recycler Revolution, or the fending for scraps on the wasteland revolution that is people keep thinking about. The Recycler Revolution is happening in India, Pakistan, and other countries that have figured out that if they take the world's garbage and reprocess it and clean up their own environment, they win in every way, and they can sell our own garbage back to us as 3D printer filament, which I think is a hilarious turn of events. This used to be handled by China. Now the new upstart country is literally India. And I cheer them on, because we're too stupid in the United States to go dig up our old landfills and see them as gold fields. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And if you want to look up natural fibers, stop looking up just what you want to see.